It is now time for the Law and You on 4CRB, and it's a very good morning to John Fragdley from the Bell Legal Group. Good morning, John.
Yeah, g'day, Colin. How are you today?
Very well. How about you?
Yeah, very well indeed. I'm just hoping we don't have those same telephone problems we had last week.
I think we've done a bit of work there, and the Exchange or NBN have told us they've fixed their generator problems.
Excellent. That's good to hear. Nothing worse than gremlins.
I agree. What's happening in the world of the law?
Welcome, everybody. This is the Law and You on 4CRB. It's your opportunity to get free legal advice between now and 9:30. All we'd like you to do is get on that telephone. 55208888, of course, is our number. That's 55208888. 07 in front of it. If you're ringing from south of the Tweed River, and of course we're still broadcasting, or we're still bringing you this program remotely from our offices in Surfers Paradise via telephone to the studios at Burleigh, where Colin's looking after the console and keeping an eye on any callers that may come in. Colin, any callers there at the moment?
Not just yet, John.
All right, okay. Well, thank you to the couple of people who were able to ring and get in before we had those problems with the phones last week. There were subsequently a number of calls that I did ring back and speak to, of course, off air, so that we could deal with those people's issues as well. So my apologies, and those are 4CRB for the little bit of a hiccup we had there last week, but hopefully those problems are all behind us. So if you were intending to ring last week and you didn't because of the issues we were having with the phone, get on that phone as soon as you possibly can, 55208888. Of course, we do have the email address, talkback@4crb.com. So, Colin, if there are no callers there at present, I do have a couple of things that I was going to talk about last week, but unfortunately, because of the phone issues, wasn't able to get to. So just give me a little interruption if we do have a caller coming in
John,
in the meantime.
I do have one caller on the line. Would you like to do your spiel first?
Let's take that now.
Okay.
Take that now.
Here is Glenda. Good morning, Glenda.
Good morning.
Glenda, hello. How are you today?
Fine, thank you, John. Just a quick question. I've got a subscription to a magazine, and my husband it took it over 12 months. My husband was ill and he's not able to continue to receive it, and I've applied for a refund since November, and I keep talking to them, sending emails, and it's only $51, and they won't give me the refund. Who do I have to get on to take it further?
Right. Well, the first issue, of course, that's involved in it, Glenda, is what the terms of the subscription were and whether it's possible.
They haven't said that they can't have a refund. They're just not giving it to me. And I've given them my bank details twice, and still nothing. They haven't said, no, you can't have it back.
All right. Well, look, if that's the case, are you in Queensland or New South Wales?
Queensland.
Okay. Well, I would suggest that you give the Office of Consumer Affairs a call. Have you got a pen there handy?
Yes, I'm here ready.
Okay, so the number is 137468.
7468.
Yeah, so
okay.
137468. I know a lot of these companies, and look, this just doesn't include magazine subscriptions. It includes many of the travel companies. Even the airlines have been very slow in getting refunds out to people in the current environment, and I would have no doubt that it is all to do with protecting cash flow. But if the delays are unreasonable and they've agreed that they're going to give you a refund, then certainly that's what I would be doing. I would be calling Consumer Affairs, and hopefully they can give them a little bit of a shake-up in relation to it.
Okay, lovely. Thank you, John. Have a good day.
Yes, you too, Glenda, and all the very best. Phone number here is 55208888. The Law and You is the program. It's your opportunity to get free legal advice, but only until 9:30, so you don't have a lot of time left, only 18 minutes left in the program. Please don't leave those calls to the last 5 minutes of the program, when invariably we get an influx of calls, even like we did last week when we went off air. All the calls came towards the end, so if you do have a question or a query, get on that phone right now, 5520888888. How are we going at that end, Colin?
We have Ron on the line for you, John.
Okay. Good morning, Ron. How are you today?
Hello, John. Yes, thank you. John, just a short question about an executor.
Mm-hmm.
John, I've made a few wills in my time, but I've recently made a new will, and I normally have 3 executives. I usually have my sister, brother, and so forth, and 3 in the family. But I just made it recently, and the solicitor said to me I wanted to put the same three in as I had before. Excuse me.
Mm.
And she said, no, you can't have 3. You can only have 2.
Mm.
And
No,
she went on and on and on.
You can actually have up to 4.
Oh, really? So why would she wouldn't let me do it, so she went ahead and she wouldn't let me use the 3, only 2. So I'm just wondering why she did that.
I can't really explain why that would have happened, Ron, but a little bit curious.
The only difference, John, is they're interstate in Melbourne. I'm in Brisbane, Gold Coast.
No,
that wouldn't make any difference, does it?
It shouldn't really make any difference at all.
No. All right, John, look, thank you very much. I just thought it was very, very odd. Very odd, yeah.
No problem at all. And time on 4CRB just continues to roll along. It's 14 minutes past 9. The Law and You is the program, of course, 55208888, our phone number. Any callers there at the moment, Colin?
And this one just snuck in. So we have Heather on the line for you.
Heather. Good morning, Heather. How are you today?
Oh, good morning. Yes, all right, thank you. Is it John Fragdley?
It is indeed, yes. How are you today, Heather?
Not too bad, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, well, thanks.
Oh, that's good. I'm referring to the basic document of an enduring power of attorney. It actually was my mother's, dated 2012, but I've been advised by my solicitor that the format is pretty much the same. Because I don't have a family, I'm going to have to provide all sorts of individual informative clauses to help myself, because there's nobody to speak for me. And I have a friend and another person who are going to be my EPOAs, and one of them and myself are very concerned about getting a clarification which appears on page 4 of a standard EPOA document and then reappears on page 5. And it mentions, and I'll be very brief to you, your attorney must not be 18 years of age, must not be your current paid carer or healthcare provider, such as your nurse, as your doctor. Now, that's the first point. And then on the second page, it is listed, is there anything that will end this attorney, in this power of attorney? And it says your attorney, if your attorney becomes your paid carer or healthcare provider. Now, I've clarified this with my solicitor. One of my EPOAs is going to be my specialist podiatrist who does my foot care because I have major health problems with my feet. So she provides a service to provide care for my feet, and my solicitor advised me that she is exempt from those rules. She is not a paid carer. She's not a doctor, a medical specialist or a nurse. She's not working in a residential service, and she's not bankrupt. Therefore, I can have her as my EPOA. But both of us wanted an independent second opinion.
Right. Well, Heather, I certainly wouldn't be prepared to give that on this program, because I would want to look into it to make sure whether, in fact, podiatrist, I mean, on the face of it, a podiatrist is a healthcare provider.
Yes.
And so therefore
it's
I would want to
health.
look into it I would want to look into it a little more carefully. Well, I mean, you could argue that a nurse is allied health as well, so I think...
No, a nurse is not classed as allied health. Allied health and a nurse are not classed the same.
Right, okay. Well, as I say, I certainly wouldn't be prepared to express an independent opinion on it without looking into it. So the only thing I can suggest to you, Heather, is that I can look into it and comment on it next week on the program. Alternatively, where on the coast do you live?
Well,
which area?
I'm quite limited in how far I can travel. I can travel between Palm Beach and Pacific Fair.
Right, okay, because the other alternative I could suggest to you would be to take the power of attorney document and go and see the Gold Coast, My Community Legal at the Robina Community Legal Centre up at Robina.
I haven't heard of them.
Yeah, they open between 6:30 and 8:30 p.m. on a Thursday evening in the Gold Coast City Council's 6:30 and 8:30 p.m. on a Thursday evening.
Yes, that's at night time. I don't like going out at night.
All right. Well, if that's the case, then just leave it with me, and I'll look into it further, and I'll make a comment on it next week.
I'm very worried because if the opinion I've been given is not right, it means I couldn't have her, and I especially need her. The reasons I've been told she can be my EPOA is she is not a paid carer. She is not a doctor, medical specialist or nurse. She's not a service provider in a residential service where I'm a resident, and she's not bankrupt. But we're so concerned about it that if we went ahead and did a document that turned out to be illegal, then I'd be sunk as a ship. So,
all right.
It needs an independent second look at it, please. So, do I listen to you next week?
I'll listen in next week, and I'll certainly make a comment on it for you next week.
I'll listen in to you because I can't begin to start it unless I get this clarified and have a reassurance that it's accurate.
Yes. Well, the only other thing I could suggest you do, Heather, then would be to ring into the 4CRB switchboard again after you finish this call. Give them your name and your phone number. They can email those through to me, and then I will be able to ring you before next week's program.
Yes, I would prefer to do that, please. That would be very helpful if you would, because I'm very worried about this, because I haven't got a family, and there's only these two people I know that I can trust absolutely.
All right.
I'll do that.
No problem at all.
Thank you very much, John. Thank you very much.
All the very best, Heather. And the time on 4CRB continues to roll along, 21 minutes past 9. The Law and Yours, the program, 55208888, our number. Any callers there at the moment, Colin?
Board is clear.
Board is clear. Okay, well, finally we can get to some of those things I was wanting to talk about. So one of the things that I was going to raise last week was the fact that there has been a real upsurge in the number of people reviewing their wills, their powers of attorney, their advanced health directives, and also looking at their superannuation. Since the COVID-19 restrictions came in, I think it's based on two things. I think one is the fact that a lot of people have been locked down at home, so it's given them time they otherwise may not have had to look at those documents and work out whether they are in fact up to date or not. And also, I think, sadly, it's been a case that people have been confronting their own mortality with the outbreak of the COVID pandemic, and people obviously initially were very concerned about whether they might contract the virus and then whether their affairs were in order or not. So it's unfortunate that it took this pandemic to do it, but if you haven't already done so, it is certainly a very good opportunity for you to review your will and your power of attorney, in fact, just like Heather is doing, and your advanced health directive if you were considering whether you in fact need to have an advanced health directive or not. Don't forget that the advanced health directive is quite different to your power of attorney. The advanced health directive is a document that you complete in the presence of your doctor whilst you're still competent to do so, and then after completing it with your doctor, you then have to sign it and have it in the presence of an independent qualified witness to give it effect. But it then provides a guide to your healthcare professionals as to what your wishes are in the event of anything occurring in your life. For example, if you were to be involved in an accident which resulted in you being admitted to hospital in a coma from which you were unlikely to recover, all those sorts of things it can be helpful with. The other thing too, that of course with your superannuation, is making sure that the death benefit nominations that you have in place in relation to your superannuation are in fact valid, and whether you want them to be binding death benefit nominations or not. It's quite interesting to see the number of times that people have filled out death benefit nominations in favour of relatives who would not qualify to be the recipient of their superannuation, and in those circumstances the super will end up going to their legal personal representative, the executor of their will, or perhaps to another family member who does qualify but who they don't want the super to go to. So just some very important things there for people to consider: their will, their powers of attorney, and their advanced health directive. How are we going there, Colin? Any callers online at the moment?
No, I think they're absorbing all of that wonderful information, John.
Right. Well, and the other thing that I was going to try and talk about last week and didn't get time to was the increase in the number of neighbourhood disputes that have been occurring. And these have ranged from trees to dividing fences to noise issues, animals, all of these sorts of things that have been causing problems between people. In Queensland, we have particularly good legislation in this area, the Neighbourhood Disputes Resolution Act, which then, through a number of areas, covers things like fencing disputes and disputes involving overhanging trees and those sorts of things. Who's responsible for the repairs to fences, whether a fence, in fact, should be repaired or whether the fence needs to be replaced. It can also, there are also, of course, under the local government bylaws, rules that people must comply with in relation to their pets, keeping them healthy and safe, as well as I mentioned before, issues in relation to noise. So if you have any problems in that area because you've been at home for a lot longer than you normally would be, and these things are starting to cause you some issues, then the Queensland Government website, it's the Department of Justice website. If you go to that, or you just simply Google fencing disputes Queensland or neighbour disputes Queensland, noise problems Queensland, it will bring up the relevant provisions under the Queensland legislation that would help. I'm sure that New South Wales would have similar provisions, and so if you are listening from New South Wales, of course, you don't forget that you can use their legislation down there and go to the website for New South Wales. But it's important in your search to put in either Queensland or New South Wales, depending on where you're searching for. Anything there at the moment, Colin?
No, John, no.
Okay, so one final thing that I think is quite important in relation to the current COVID pandemic, although I think as the number of cases in Queensland are becoming fewer and certainly things are settling down in that area and people are becoming a little more willing to go out, nonetheless is there for those who may have health problems that concern about going out into the public in general, and that is that in both Queensland and New South Wales, and in fact I think also across in New Zealand for that matter, the governments have responded quickly with legislation to enable things such as wills and powers of attorney to be signed remotely. Now, that on the face of it may sound fantastic. The only problem is that that you would at least be able to know how to work FaceTime on your phone, or alternatively Zoom, or alternatively Microsoft Teams, one of those video conferencing apps or systems that you can use for that. And it is in fact possible to have documents witnessed remotely in that way. There's a procedure that needs to be followed after that, and most importantly, certainly in Queensland and New South Wales, one of the witnesses on a will must be a qualified witness. So normally you can sign a will in the presence of two adult witnesses, but under this legislation, one of the witnesses must be a qualified witness, and that would mean that they must be a solicitor, a justice of the peace, etc. And of course, the two witnesses still need to be together at the same time, so that they can see the person sign a will, for example. Power of attorney, of course, is different. It only needs one witness. But there are procedures laid down, and if you have any questions or queries on that and you're concerned about going out into the public still at the present time, going to visit your solicitor's office or such like, then you can give your solicitor a call and they'll certainly be able to run through that legislation with you to advise you what those requirements are. Well, finally, Colin, do we have any other callers there, or that's just about it for the day, I think?
I think that's rounding it up for the day, but great information there, John. I'll have a question for you next week as to remote signing. Wow, that's very interesting.
Well, as you know, Colin, we've been doing the 4CRB board meetings by Zoom.
Yes, we have.
We're not quite doing this radio program by Zoom, obviously, because radio is not a visual media, but nonetheless, we're utilising remote technology even to broadcast this program today to make sure that we keep the station safe and can continue our broadcasting, which is obviously essential to our listening audience. I'm John Fragdley from the Bell Legal Group. It's been great to be with you this morning for another program of The Law and You. I'll look forward to being back with you, of course, next week for another program. But as always, until then, it's goodbye and God bless.